This one's not as bad. For those of you who have not been keeping up with the God's Not Dead timeline, we are on the third movie, and we still haven't proved that God's not dead. Therefore, we must definitively prove our hypothesis by injecting this series with a little bit of northern exposure, making the other movies so far only likable character the lead, and bringing in a completely different director and co-writer. Seriously, God's Not Dead 1 and 2 director Harold Kronk is replaced by director John Gunn under the alias Michael Mason. Gunn had previously directed PureFlix's The Case for Christ, and regardless of what you think of that film, it's certainly a movie that knows character arcs and people better than the previous God's Not Dead movies. While the persecution complex of the other films is still here, of course, the movie almost feels like a challenge given to a more talented writer to see if they can make something of what they were given with the previous movies. Certain supporting characters, like liberal cancer blogger and Christian exchange student disowned by evil atheist dad, are now gone, which greatly reduces the multiple storylines of the other films into a much more focused movie. It even quickly wraps up the cliffhanger of God's Not Dead 2, which ended with Reverend Dave, played by David A.R. White, being arrested for not turning over his sermon transcripts. We see the ending again in this movie, and this is the last that we see or hear about Chinese student Martin Yip. Which means his father probably killed him. So the church transcripts needed to be turned over to make sure they weren't using their sermons as a political platform. That way they could keep their tax-exempt status. Free speech issue, totally.
Historic landmark that has served this community for over a century. And now they want the church gone. This is what our country has come to.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
No, I'm not. But you're probably gonna tell me anyway, aren't you? Never mind, the court releases the transcript mandate and Dave is free to go. What a cliffhanger! It was all resolved before the opening credits! Possibly because the new director felt like it was a good idea to not have both sequels be a courtroom drama, and because that plot line would be stupid. Reverend Jude is also back, and Dave even has a love interest. No, not his own personal Jules Winfield. I mean the sexy cafe lady.
From last night. Pork chops turned out great.
Sure, I could joke here, but nothing's gonna top finding out that Michael Scott produced this one. Now I won't be surprised when Reverend Dave strangles someone with the American flag. Dave's church is still located on a college campus where tension is so heavy that they need armed security guards.
I appreciate you all braving the angry mobs and picketers again. But even with all the noise going...
If you're laughing it off, your problem probably isn't that bad. But this is a special day.
That our very own Jude Umbaye has accepted a permanent position with us here at St. James as my co-pastor.
Well, at least the church is now pro-gay marriage. Unfortunately, they hear a noise right on the day of Jude's retirement, the birth of his granddaughter, and the day he won the lottery. That's what the light and darkness is? A man on fire? Oh, right. I guess it should be pointed out that numbers were completely dropped from the titles, so while it's easier to just say God's Not Dead 3, it's really God's Not Dead, A Light and Darkness. That's one way to disassociate yourself from the series, and by saying A Light and Darkness is code for this is the only one that isn't terrible. At least this movie has a way better fire budget than God's Club. Maybe I spoke too soon. Nah, it's still better than God's Club. Gotta get you out of here, Jude, so I can immediately fire the armed security guards. My God, you're speaking in tongues! You're possessed by Satan! Ah, come on, you were all smiles when Sorbo died, saying that today is a good day. And there goes the world's greatest friendship, and we'll never know who caused this. Never mind, the pool did it. Here we meet Keaton. Given the original hero was Josh Whedon, it makes sense Michael Keaton is in this.
I'm so tired of all the noise. Everyone yelling. On the news.
You're fine. Although her boyfriend, Adam McTeenwolf, is seducing her into atheism.
I did my time as a kid, remember? I just got out sooner than you did.
Sorry, but I do have to point out another positive thing. Finally, we have an actor who is acting like that cup is full. They're all just a bunch of kids joshing around about the Mandela effect.
Like what?
Like Curious George used to have a tail, but now he doesn't.
What? Used to?
Yeah.
No, it didn't change.
Look it up.
People just remember it wrong.
Stupid millennials! These conversations are as deep as plywood.
Okay. Look, it's science, yo, okay? Quantum physics. Look it up.
Physics.
You guys seriously not hear how ridiculous you sound?
I feel like most arguments could be ended with, "It's science, yo." When Adam outs her as sorta still believing in God, it causes the two of them to break up. It's kinda like the breakup in the first God's Not Dead, only these two are acting like real people, and they really do have a legit reason to be breaking up. Plus, Keaton hears her true calling. Fantastic. She wandered into sleepaway camp to unhappy campers. Speaking of Josh Whedon, holy shit, there he is! Kevin Williamson himself! I mean, Whedon. Josh Whedon.
Did you know that there's no hyphen in Kit Kat?
You mean like Kit Kat the candy bar?
I'm glad he came back to the series for this. While this breakup may have felt genuine, it's still a God's Not Dead film, so Adam is so mad about his breakup that he's gonna vandalize the church. That's all you got? Too far! Too far! By God, it's even worse than I thought. There's a red X on the sign. Wait a minute, Ted McGinley is in this? We've got stars of God's Not Dead, Christmas with a capital C, and All Saints. This is religious movie Avengers. It's even co-written by the writer of The Identical. I see Stan Gable has graduated from president of the Greek Council to president of the entire campus. They even bring in Tatum O'Neal as president of the campus Bad News Bears. She's there to tell him that he should really kick that church off campus.
Tom, I think you should be the one to talk to Reverend Dave.
Dave is my friend.
Yeah, look, kicking the church off of school grounds is way easier than just finding the student who did this. This'll be the right time to tell Dave his friend's funeral. Oh wait, no, bad idea. I'm gonna go have a trophy of beer first. Let him mourn with his friends.
Mungu ni mzuri. Wakati.
My God, they're speaking in tongues too!
It means basically, always God is good.
Okay. Shit, I'm racist. Alright, Dave, we want you off of school grounds, but you may be able to win the church back if you win this year's homecoming carnival.
We were attacked. We're worried about the school, the welfare of the students. There are a lot of factors here.
It really is your fault that the church was set on fire and that your friend is dead. Oh wait, that came out wrong. They want to force him out due to eminent domain laws. This really is a bad week to be Reverend Dave.
Yeah, Keaton stopped by the other day. First time I've seen her in 5 months. She's lost.
I have other things on my mind right now. No need for callbacks.
Here.
I know, Josh, I got it. But
This is why I took on Professor Radisson, why I left law school for this ministry.
Professor Radisson is dead, and it's kinda your fault, you insensitive prick. This scene is going nowhere. I really hope they release the Snyder cut of the Whedon scenes. Only one man can help, James Bond. I mean his atheist lawyer brother, Pierce. played by John Corbett. Dave decides to go to Chicago to find Pierce instead of taking a chance and running into him in Abu Dhabi. The hardest thing to believe in this series is that this is Chicago. There's ketchup on the table and it's on a hot dog. Unlike Sucks for Me That You Have Cancer lawyer in the first film, Corbett's Pierce has an instant likability.
God called me to fight. I'm gonna fight.
God calls you, you call me.
Already, John Corbett is the best thing to ever happen to this series. Sure, Adam tells Keaton the truth that he was in Ginger Dead Man 3, but I want more John Corbett.
What'd you do to the tree?
What's wrong with it?
For one thing, it's dead.
While I doubt there will be any more God's Not Dead movies after this.
Wow. Got the old man's chair. Allowed to sit in it now?
I desperately want a Reverend Dave and Pierce sitcom.
Unfortunately, I don't really eat zingers anymore.
What do you mean you don't eat zingers? You love those things. What happened?
Triple bypass.
Sold! I'm picking this up for a full season. Still, it's a God's Not Dead movie, so this case is stupid.
You're not hearing me. They just want the church gone because they think it's bad PR for the university.
I think kicking out a church after an attack is even worse publicity. I know I ask this in all of these movies, but what universe is this? And then that happened. We got to investigate this ourselves. Oh my god, the arsonist left his mark. Oh wait, I did that in the 80s. Dean Gable is pressured to offer Dave even more money and begins to wonder, what would Dean Mayo-Lek do? I know, we let Reverend Dave and his congregation live in the gym. Even the side story here isn't bad, in that it actually has to do with the main plot, and this isn't a usual evil strawman atheist character. This is someone who actually is going through guilt and remorse.
If he does exist, do you think that he would forgive me?
I know it's easier to scoff at some of this, but putting myself in this kid's shoes, yeah, I'd probably turn to Jesus. And booze. Definitely booze. But enough about this. More Corbett!
Pierce, that's how we have painted that.
Who cares? It's ugly.
I'm giving this show a second season order. They got a full day ahead of them. Dave has to hold an emergency service to stop the bulldozer from randomly flattening their church.
But how often do we really take time to read it? Let's start at the top, shall we? In the beginning.
Or he's doing a hilarious Andy Kaufman-inspired bit where he just reads the whole Bible to the crowd. They get a cease and desist order just in time. Dave was about to get to the part in Deuteronomy about virgin rape. One of the PureFlix elements that you still see in this film is how the news program that's wildly against the church is literally called Lion's Den. But unlike the first film, which had two strawman robots debating to a choir that already had their minds made up, this movie, however...
The Christian church has a long history of persecuting people, and then those people push back, and you guys want to cry victim.
And for every example of someone who's misrepresented Jesus, there are 100 others who have done good in his name.
This one feels like real people with opposing views having an actual conversation. Good job. Only took you 3 movies to do that. And given how it took a different director and multiple movies to have an actual debate, I feel like I kinda know where the producers' hearts really lie, but it still gets an A for effort. Oh right, forgot there was a love interest in this.
Coming to collect on that rain check.
And he's her pimp! Even Dave is having a crisis of faith, but that's nothing that carving a full rack of barbecue ribs won't solve. Surely we can all work something out.
I want my church back. Okay, be reasonable.
Come on, man, let us tear down your church.
You know what I'd do if it were me? I'd put in a big student center with a fancy coffee shop. The kids would love it.
My God, he's right. I could go for a coffee right now. Someone's about to get lawyered.
What you're doing, it's against the law. Because eminent domain doesn't automatically apply just because you guys don't like his church.
Oh, excellent. So the movie should be over. We're only halfway through. And like the other movies, where does an oppressed Christian go these days? Fox News, or Fox News Internet Edition.
All of these college administrators, they go on and on and on about diversity and tolerance and inclusion, but yet when it's asked of them, they run you off of campus.
Aren't you an NRA spokesperson? I'm only here for Corbett's thoughts.
Dude, almost 3 million views. People are mad.
I also prefer to watch Fox News while high. No wonder he wants to find that box of zingers.
Don't you knock?
What are you doing?
I'm on the phone.
Who are you talking to so late?
None of your business.
There is a love story in this film, and it's between John Corbett and me. Seriously, forget this law stuff. The movie needs to be about Dave and Pierce cutting down a tree and talking God stuff.
What do you think I do for a living? Do you think I need to have the belief system of every crackhead I defend to defend him?
John Corbett is so genuine here, it feels like this character doesn't exist in the same universe as the other movies.
Okay, I don't expect you to agree, but that's okay, because this is healthy. It's a healthy discourse.
Pierce, people are broken.
Screw healthy discussion. Where's Pat Boone dancing? I spoke too soon because there is some more returning characters.
The cross is both vertical and horizontal. Vertical is me and God, God and me, my relationship with Christ. The horizontal part, you and I.
And they got into John Corbett's weed. I have a feeling this scene won't be as hilarious. It's where we find out exactly why Adam doesn't like church.
Do you know why my mom divorced my dad? He used to beat her. They called her a sinner. They said that if she married again, she'd be an adulterer.
Well, kudos to the movie for getting a lot more in-depth than just, I'm an atheist now because my relative died. The movie even shows consequences for Dave's news appearance by showing Dean Gable get threats online, harassing phone calls, and bricks thrown through his window. It's like stirring up a mob for personal gain is a bad idea. The movie shows that issues and people are sometimes very complicated and not black and white. What's Josh gonna make of all this?
Let me ask you this. Do you think that your religious beliefs get in the way of real social change?
No, my beliefs are the foundation of change.
Oof, Josh isn't used to having an actual discussion about religion, or one as funny either.
Let's say grace. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this.
It's not delivery, it's diocese. As if things couldn't get any worse, Dave may have to sue the dean. Plus, he finds out who started the fire when Adam himself anonymously messages him. Time for an ass-kicking.
Tell me!
Wait.
You killed Jude, didn't you? Hey!
I really need to see a David A.R. White action movie. Oh, thank God that exists. I don't know how, but the school actually tries using this to their advantage.
None of this, however, should excuse the actions of Reverend Dave Hill. His outburst has made our position stronger.
Yeah, I guess it's all the same thing. Church gets burnt down, Dave is really mad about it. Let's go on Fox.
It's fine. Judge, this kid killed somebody.
Oh, come on, it was an accident.
Can't forget it.
Everybody
Look,
knows
a judge
that.
and jury's going to decide
Well,
that.
speaking of...
You are a judge. And since when do you not have an opinion about something?
And this is teed up for disaster. It's a sign of the times, isn't it? Everybody's yelling, nobody's listening.
True. You should probably cancel your show. Let's get rid of Twitter while we're at it. Dave's anger and his crisis of faith even causes him to lash out at the movie's teddy bear.
Where are you going?
Oh, I'm walking.
You can't.
Watch me.
Pierce.
No, you can't leave. If you leave this movie, then take us with you. Now it's gonna get really God's not deady.
When is it our right to fight? I'm tired of being pushed around. I think it's time that Christians stand up for themselves.
Well, the problem isn't that Christians aren't standing up for themselves, it's that they're really stupid about it. And you can actually tell when the movie's better writer takes over.
But maybe you'd understand a little better if you were the one being attacked.
I'm a black preacher in the deep south. I could build you a church with all the bricks been thrown through my windows.
This movie series is getting owned by its own movie. It does, however, have a third act breakup, not between Dave and God, but between Dave and his brother.
Break. No one forced you out.
Oh, yes, you did. I wasn't welcome in this house once I started asking tough questions.
Is that what they were? Tough questions?
This movie truly understands every argument at Thanksgiving.
Do you have any idea what you did to Mom and Dad?
I was changing, and you all hated me for it. And that's the truth, David.
What kind of God's Not Dead character is this? He should go around threatening students for talking in class. And even the B plot here still feels genuine.
You want to know why our generation's leaving the church? It's because the whole world knows what the church is against, but it's getting harder and harder to know what it's for.
God's Not Dead, a movie trilogy that itself is born again. Dave learns how to forgive to the point to where he actually gives Adam Jude's Bible.
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Why wasn't this all three movies? The other two kinda contributed to the hatefulness that this movie is against. Courts are even left out of the movie as the Dean and Dave actually come to a compromise and talk their shit out. They even bring the angry mobs together.
Chancellor Ellsworth has assured me that this new facility will have a space for our harbor house, led by our campus minister, Josh Wheaton.
The Russo brothers said no. This entry in the series killed off Jude and bullshit protesting.
But for now, please, put down those signs. Put them down.
Yeah, well, that was easy. Now let's settle the abortion debate. This call for peace is very nice and is a welcome addition. The movie should just be called God's Not Dead, The Apology. It doesn't have a giant schmaltzy makeup scene. Corbett calls his brother and leaves him a message because they are still brothers and brothers fight. Dave gets to break ground on a new church, and sure, it title drops at the end, but at least it doesn't tell you to text it to people like the previous movies did, nor does it list off a bunch of contextless court cases. Congratulations, God's Not Dead movies! You're finally about Christianity! While the movie starts out like it's gonna be just another victim complex movie about persecuted Christians and evil atheists, and you can certainly still see some elements of the other movies here, this movie's just more human about it. It makes these people feel authentic. It gets into topics of redemption, remorse, forgiveness, and is a movie that feels genuine in its discussions about faith, and it doesn't shy away from talking about very real reasons why people would want to go away from the church. Which, of course, means that of all three movies, this is the only one that bombed. It only made $7 million in its entire run, which is less than what the other two movies made in their opening weekends. Because, of course, that's what happened. The movie suffered from poor reviews, which is understandable because it's still hard to recommend it for movie theater prices. But even its own audience ignored it by calling it a cash grab that doesn't promote a Christian message anymore. It's the only one that promotes a Christian message, and since when is being a cash grab a bad thing for this audience? So this probably means no more God's Not Dead movies in the future, which is terrible news for me. These reviews are among the most popular on the channel. These God's Not Dead movies aren't alive and are surely dead. Which unfortunately means we won't see an entry that takes place in outer space. You should have set part 3 in space while you had the chance.
Stretchy.
My God's not dead, he's surely alive, he's living.